This webinar is going to take approximately like 35 minutes of me talking. And at the end, you will have a question and answer session. So there, me and Alexander will try to answer any questions you might have. So basically, my name is Reetta, and I'm the operations manager at Asia Exchange. And I'm based here in Asia, so actually in Bali, but I've also been dealing with UPM and the Malaysian students for the past 4 semesters. So I am hopefully able to answer some of the questions you might have. And you cannot see the other person whose face you can see on the slides. So Alex is a former UPM student. He actually just studied the spring semester there and finished earlier this month. But he's joining still online. He's sick, so he has no voice and cannot join as a speaker. But he can answer any questions you might have during the webinar or at the end of the webinar. So basically, you can write any questions you might have during the webinar in the chat section. So Alex can see those and he can answer you directly there. You can also write any questions in the questions section for me to answer at the end of the webinar, but Alex won't be able to see those. So in case you have something that you need to ask directly from him, please write it in the chat part so he can answer you directly there. So today I will be talking a little bit about the visa process and other preparations you need to do for your semester in Malaysia. I will talk about the accommodation and transport, and also in short about studying at UPM. And like I said, there will be the question and answer session at the end, or you can write in the chat questions for Alex so he can answer them. Basically, if there's something regarding visas or basically the preparations before your semester, it might be better that you write it in the questions section, but anything related to living and studying Malaysia, just write in the chat so Alex can answer those. And let's start with one of the most important steps of preparation for your semester abroad, which is the student visa. So all of you need to get a student visa, even though most nationalities can get a 90-day social pass, so basically tourist visa for Malaysia, you cannot study with that. So you need to come in the country and study with the student visa, aka student pass. So it is a 3-step process, basically 4 steps, but 3 steps are important for actually getting the visa. So most of you have already received the offer letter from UPM, which you need for applying for the electronic visa approval letter, also called eval. And those of you who haven't yet received, we just communicated with UPM today, and we're expecting to receive them latest at the beginning of next week. So as soon as we send you those, you should start the eval application. The process can be up to 2 months, but it can also be only as short as 3 weeks in case you put all the information correct in the EMGS online portal and you submit all the documents exactly as they are asked, because then your application will progress really fast. And yeah, once it is approximately 80% ready, you can download it from the EMGS website, and you should then apply for the single entry visa, SEV, at your nearest Malaysian embassy. And in case you have any questions about the documents needed for the visa application, then you should contact the embassy directly, because these might vary from one country to the other. And also, we don't have all that. But most embassies can actually grant the visa quite fast. So you should get it even in 1 week, 5 working days. So that process is fast. It's only the eval process that takes a while. And then when you enter the country with the single entry visa, the next step is processing your student pass. So that is the actual student visa. And this is something you start processing at the end of the registration that takes place before your orientation days. And you need to complete a few steps before you can start to process the student pass, which is, for example, attending the medical screening at UPM. And also you need to submit some documents, such as the offer letter, the health certificate that you need to fill in. You need to, of course, submit your passport. And this is the last step of the registration process at UPM. And then UPM will take care of the actual student pass processing with EMGS. And it will take approximately 2 to 4 weeks, during which time you are not allowed to exit the country because you will not have your passport. But as soon as you have your student pass, your visa will be multiple entry, so you can freely go in and out of Malaysia during the semester. But please do it during the weekends and during the holidays, and not during the actual semester. And other things to take care of besides the visa is, of course, the travel insurance that covers for all the medical expenses in case of accidents or illnesses. Of course, you need to book flights, but when doing this, you need to wait until your eval application is at least on the latter half of the process and moving along normally, so is in green, because after that, it usually doesn't take long. It should be ready in 2 weeks after that. So then you will know when you will receive also your visa and when you can actually enter the country. So please don't book it before your visa application, or the eval application, I mean, is at least at 35% and progressing normally. You will, of course, need to also make sure that you have vaccinations up to date. The most important things being tetanus vaccination and hepatitis A and B. If you plan on traveling in more rural areas, or like in other countries where there's, for example, jungle, then you might want to ask your doctor if you need some kind of other vaccinations, such as Japanese encephalitis, or if you might need to purchase malaria medication already in advance. Another thing that would be good for everyone to make is a travel notification to your home country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is so that in case there's anything happening, natural disasters, any kind of issues going on in Malaysia or nearby countries, they will be able to contact you by phone to inform you of whatever is going on. And also they will know where you are in case of any accidents or anything happening to you. So it's good to do the travel notification as well. Then you should join our Facebook group, the Facebook student group. We sent you a link to that with the AE student guide email that we sent you last week. And regarding that, I actually have a question for you. So have you already read the AE student guide that we sent to you earlier? So it seems a little bit more than half of you only has read it, almost half haven't. So I definitely recommend you to read it. You don't have to read it from cover to cover, but at least read the most important things, because there's really good information about how to prepare for your semester, and also information about what's going to happen during your semester, safety, transportation, all these kind of things in more depth than what I actually go to during this webinar. Then there's another question I want to ask you is, have you ever been to Malaysia before? Wow, this is really interesting. None of you have ever been to Malaysia. So, well, it's a really nice country, and you're gonna have, for sure, a good time during your semester there. And it's good to explore places you've never been to. So Malaysia is actually one of the easiest countries in Asia to start your exploration from. So you've done a good choice. And if you want to know like some tips or about like former students' experiences there, you should read some blogs on our website. Like you can find blogs in our blog, or you can also search for former student blogs. We have links to them from our website. And then there is the point number 7, which is super important. So please do not use any drugs, because you will undergo the medical screening during your registration. And in case any drugs are found in your system, it is grounds for terminating your semester. So you will not be able to study in Malaysia, because you will not be granted a visa for that. So do not, even marijuana, nothing. Please do not do any drugs, because it's only a little bit over 2 months before your semester. So you do not want to ruin your chance for this experience. And another preparation tip is download the Grab Taxi app. It is super handy. I will talk more about it later, but this is one thing you should definitely have on your phone before arriving in Malaysia, because most likely you will already need it at the airport. And then on arrival in KL. So you need to obviously go through the immigration when arriving at the airport, but hopefully you're all arriving at the KLIA main airport instead of KLIA 2, because the last information is that the only student arrival center is at the main KL airport, which is where you should go. It's before the immigration. So first you go with all your documents there, and they will instruct you which line to take at the immigration and everything else. Even if you arrive at KLA 2, you can still do it yourself, but it's good help to have to visit the student arrival center before going through the immigration. And then you should book a hostel or a hotel for the first nights, unless you have already booked accommodation in advance. I would normally not recommend booking accommodation in advance, but some students wish to do that as they are a little bit worried that they might not find the perfect place in case they wait until arriving in Malaysia. But yeah, it would be a good thing actually if you want to stay, for example, in the KL Central area in the beginning. You should book a hotel there for the first few nights, and then you could go and see some of the accommodation options during that time. Then at the airport, I still need to go back there. After you go out of the immigration, get your luggage, you should purchase a SIM card, a local SIM card with internet package. There are a few stands there. Also, if you go outside of the arrivals area, there you can find some as well. You can get quite cheaply the local SIM card and the package, and then you can just like put more money there during your semester. And then before the orientation days, that will be on the first week of September, there is approximately 10-day registration period that would be good already to be there for, because it's best to take care of all the registration steps, that are quite many actually, before the orientation days, because you need to go through the medical screening, you need to choose your courses, and you need, when choosing the courses, it's basically first come first served basis. So the earlier you are there to choose the courses or confirm the courses at the faculties, the more likely it is that you will get exactly the courses that you originally chose. And then orientation days are also, it's quite of a great event. The days are pretty long, but you get to meet your fellow students, because it's not just students coming through Asia Exchange, going to UPM, but it's also other mobility students and also other international students who are starting their full degree studies. So you will get to meet them, do some get-together activities. You will learn about the studies. You will learn about like health and safety. So it's a lot of important information shared at the orientation. And a few notifications about your health is the level of hygiene can be sometimes a little bit lower in the Asian countries than what we are used to in the Western countries. So especially in the beginning, it's good to take care of your hand hygiene. So maybe carry a hand sanitizer with you, at least in the beginning, and avoid spicy food to avoid having belly issues. You will most likely start eating spicy food at some point and really enjoy it, but in the beginning, we are not really used to the spiciness of some of the Asian foods, so it's best to start slowly. And of course, even if it's cloudy, it's still warm and the sun is burning hot there. So please wear sunscreen. Stay safe from the sun. It's not nice to be burned in the first days already. Okay, then about accommodation. Most of you for sure a little bit worried about it, but I have a few tips for you. And these are recommendations from previous students. So actually the most popular options have been lately Blue Constellation and Dream City. Both are in the Serikimbangan area. It's around 15 to 20-minute grab drive, depending on the traffic, to the campus. And they are both located on only like a 5-minute drive, less than 5-minute drive from each other, or a 30-minute walk, and close to the Mine shopping mall. I've visited them both and I really, really like them both. They are awesome places to live at. So basically the main difference is that at Blue Constellation residential area, they're more like houses. So usually like 5-bedroom houses in 2 or 3 floors. So a little bit more students can fit in there. And then you also share like a nice living area there. You have a little bit of a backyard. You will also have, of course, the common areas such as the gym and the swimming pool and a barbecue area. And it's a little bit cheaper per room, the price, than a Dream City. And the area is mostly accommodated by expat families, but also a lot of students live there. I think every semester there are many houses occupied by Asia exchange students actually. And Dream City, it's quite of a new apartment complex. So there you have the option of choosing 1 or 2 or 3 bedroom apartments. And there's also the common areas such as really up-to-date latest equipment and everything, gym and a yoga shala, a jogging track, and of course a swimming pool and also a barbecue area. And some other recommendations from previous students have been some residential areas near the IOI Mall, and also East Lake Residences and Unit 360 in Serikimbangan. So basically the same area as Blue Constellation and Dream City. But you can read more about the accommodation options in the AE student guide and also in the accommodation section on our website. But what I do recommend for you is not staying in the KL Central area, because that's a bit far. It will take even an hour sometimes to get to the campus from there. And if you plan on using Grab Taxi, then it's going to get a little bit expensive if you live in the KL Central area. And if you plan to use the public transportation, it will take you ages to get to the campus. So that's why most students actually prefer living a little bit further away from the central area and the 15-20-minute Grab drive to the campus. So that's what I would definitely recommend for you as well. And in case you have any questions about accommodation, I would recommend you to contact a person called Sito in your Facebook group, because the company she's working for has plenty of these apartment complexes, residential houses in residential areas. So she's the best one to advise you. And if you want to ask questions, Alex lived at Blue Constellation, so you can ask him questions related to that. And then let's talk about the transportation. So even though the traffic culture is a little bit different in Asia than, or a lot different in Asia than in Western countries, and it might seem super hectic, everything is still working pretty fine. Like people know what they're doing, where they're going, and everything is going smoothly. So there's a really good public transportation network, especially in the KL metropolitan area. Like you have the KL Rapid Bus and you have the Metro, but this is mostly recommended in use only in the metropolitan area, so especially KL Central. But as the UPM campus is actually located outside of KL in the Serdang area, it's not so easy to get to with the public transportation. So that's why what we recommend is downloading the Grab Taxi app and using that whenever you want to go from your accommodation to the campus, or whenever you want to go from your accommodation to KL Central when going out, for example. And when you share it with your fellow students, like if you know like someone is going to the campus at the same time, you just write in the WhatsApp group, hey, who wants to go to UPM now? And then you share a taxi, and it can be as low as 50 cents per ride per person. So that's the best way to do it. Or sometimes you can also use the regular taxis when you're in the central area and all the Grab taxis are busy. It's not that expensive to use a regular taxi either. But usually Grab taxi is the cheapest option besides public transportation, but the most convenient at least. Okay, then a few words about studying, mostly about the rules and dress code. So during your semester, you will not just have lectures, but you will just have some surveys and assignments as well that you need to submit to your lecturer. Depending on the faculty, you might also have some mandatory field trips. For example, the economic faculty has a mandatory homestay trip that will take place during one weekend during the semester. There's also a chance to take part in all these kind of extracurricular activities that UPM is arranging, usually taking place in the evenings or the weekends. But you can ask the international office for a list of these options. And if you take part in the extracurricular activities, you might even be able to earn some ECTS credits points from them. And that's a really good way to also meet the local students. And the rules at UPM is the minimum attendance is officially 80%, but I've heard from previous students that depending on the faculty or the lecturer, they are not always so strict, as long as you inform them in advance that you need to be away for a little bit more, but always remember to ask if it's okay and to inform them of that. And again, remember that the mandatory field trips or activities organized by the faculty or maybe even the international office, you really need to take part in those. And then important information about passing the semester, passing all your courses, getting the grades, getting the credits from your semester is that you need to complete at least 2 of the courses you have originally chosen. And you need to attend and pass the midterm and final exams. Because, for example, if you don't attend a final exam or you don't pass it, you can only resit it at UPM. So you cannot, for example, resit an exam later from back home. You need to be able to do it at UPM. And you need to be able to attend an exam to get your courses, the credits from your courses. And the dress code, Malaysia is a Muslim country, so it's quite conservative. So you need to dress appropriately, not just on campus, but I would also recommend you to dress appropriately whenever in public. Of course, it's a little bit different when you are in the touristy areas, when you go to the islands. But in general, the campus dress code is that you need to always cover your shoulders, your belly area, your knees, and also your toes. So, and also the dress code is such as you shouldn't wear something that is like, for example, faded jeans that are broken in bits, or like even a t-shirt is sometimes not the best option to wear. But guys, a collared shirt and trousers, jeans, whatever, and shoes, and girls can wear a dress that goes below the knee, or pants and a nice shirt or blouse. I think Alex would be actually a better one to tell you how strict it is, or how did he dress during the semester, but this is the basic regulations. And also, for example, when going to the clubs, sometimes you might need to also wear closed shoes there. So yeah, it is a modest country. It is yeah, it's a Muslim country. And then just want to quickly show you the international office that, besides your faculty, is going to be your main contact people during your semester. So they deal with all the international students, and you can find their office on the North Campus, approximately 5 to 10 minute walk from the Faculty of Economics. And it's quite easy to find. Like if you text in Grab Putra International Center or Pusat Antarabangsa UPM, Grab will already find the location and they will bring you there. So this is where you will go, for example, for some payments during the registration period, to sign in. You go to them in case you have any questions during your semester or any issues, and they will also be informing you of events or whatever is going on during the semester. But yeah, basically that is the part where I summarized most of the information that is in the AE student guide. I will also be joining the orientation days in September and hosting a presentation there for you, mostly giving some tips about what to do during your semester, like good tips from previous students. So hopefully I'll also be seeing you there. But now I think Alex has been pretty busy answering all your questions. But yeah, I'll check also for any other questions that are here. In International Student Handbook, there is evidence of your finances, bank statement, sponsor's letter in the checklist. What is that? Alex, can you answer this? Because this is not something I'm familiar with, but normally this is actually quite a common requirement for visa applications. So usually this just means a copy of your bank statement that shows the amount of money on your bank account. So it means you would have enough money for the semester. And usually you can use, for example, your parents' bank statement for this. But yeah, if Alex can reply this. This could be also a new requirement, but yeah, because sponsor's letter would be that someone is financially guaranteeing you. But I will get back to it. Unless Alex has an answer to this, I will ask UPM about it. And can both these accommodations be reserved on arrival? Usually, yes. Not all students book accommodation before arriving in KL. Actually, most students don't. So there are always like a few groups maybe who book before, but most of them go around with the accommodation agents after arriving in KL. There's quite a big group of you starting their studies in September. So in this sense, it's good to have some kind of an option where you would like to stay already and contact the accommodation agent on Facebook. So just to make sure you get something in the area you would wish for. but the accommodation agent already promised to me that she will start searching for more options for students in good areas, not too far from the campus, so that everyone will find suitable accommodation for next semester. Is it possible to do an Asian trip before arriving in Malaysia? We were told to not arrive more than 1 week before orientation. Okay, this recommendation is usually due to the fact that the offer letters can arrive really late, so it doesn't leave a lot of time for the eval application and visa application process. But let's say if you've already applied for your eval and it's the application is progressing good, or you've already maybe even gotten the eval approved, then you can arrive in Asia or Malaysia earlier than 1 week before the orientation. So you can basically travel anywhere in Asia before, of course, because you can have the visa, the Malaysian visa already on your passport before and travel other countries, or you can arrive in Malaysia already earlier as well. But if you arrive earlier, I also recommend you to start the registration process at UPM in good time. So then you can even do some like trips around Malaysia before the orientation dates. Oh, this might be a bit specific, but do you think I should bring supplies for my architecture program, or is it easy to buy there? Okay, this is really specific. I would say bring some things that you don't think you would get in Asia. I'm not good. I would need to have now my my colleague who studied architecture in Asia to ask her. But I know she always had some of the stuff with her. For example, what is it called? Thing to measure with. So some of the things I think it's good to bring, but like nothing too big. I think you can purchase almost anything. Kuala Lumpur is a very modern city with like you can basically buy anything from there. And they will for sure at your faculty be able to tell you where you can get any equipment you need for your studies there. Okay, so Alexander was able to answer that. So you don't need to bring. There is a mall which offers everything at quite cheap prices. That's good to know. You don't need to fill your luggage with the architecture equipment you need. And the local students will know which one. Okay, perfect. And I recommend all of you to also read the questions and the answers in the chat, as I will most likely not be able to to read them, but I will try my best to, wait, I'm thinking if I can anyway get these added to the summary that we send later on to you. But yeah, I recommend all of you to read the questions and answers in the chat part, because I think Alex has been answering a lot of important questions there. I'm afraid I can't arrive until September 4th. Is that a problem, or do I have to pay attention to something? Well, basically, then you arrive on the orientation day, or like before the orientation days, right before. The registration process will usually take a few days, 2 to 3 days, to go through all the steps, because they are in different areas of the campus. So I think it would just be important to get the registration done before the orientation days, because otherwise you will need to do it the next week when your classes actually start. And that might mean some issues with the courses you want, because maybe the groups are already full. So that's basically the only issue. Of course, you can complete other the steps already after, but it makes life a lot easier for you if you can complete the registration steps before the orientation days. And as you arrive a little bit later, then it might also be a good idea to find already some people who have been looking for accommodation and to move into the same house with them. We can't arrive before either, but I wrote an email to UPM and they told me it is no problem. Yeah, the main problem is just that the registration, so the courses mainly. That's why usually UPM recommends all students to arrive before the orientation days, so they have good time to complete their registration. But because of the late arrival of offer letters in the previous semesters, many students have actually arrived on the orientation day or even after, and they've been able to complete everything afterwards. But it's just like requires a little bit more effort. Yeah, I'm just reading through the questions and answers here now as well. That's perfect. Okay. How much time will the registration at UPM approximately take? I arrive on the 2nd of September. 2 or 3 days to go through the steps. Yeah, at least 2 days. Because like I said, you need to go from one office to the other and to the clinic for the health screening, medical screening. And that might be time consuming if there's a lot of people at the same time. My tip for that is go early to the medical screening, so you're one of the first ones to get in, so that will leave you more time during that day to go through the other steps. I am in China right now and the website for eval application is not reachable. Any hints what to do? Have you tried with VPN? Because I've been to China as well, and actually many websites are not reachable without a VPN. And most VPNs that are for free don't work. So you need to purchase one. I had NordVPN. I needed that for everything, to access anything basically. So I would try with that. And in case that doesn't work, please contact mobility@upm.edu.my to ask them how you could, how they could, like, if there's anything they could help you with that. But usually VPN works. So because it blocks your what is it called? The address that they will not, the website will not recognize that you're in China. So at least for me, that worked with everything. Oh yeah, and someone was asking in the chat also about the clothing and everything. Yeah, the classrooms might not always be that warm, so actually really cool, and it might get cold at the orientation event as well. And you will definitely need warm clothes for traveling by a bus or even by a train. The buses are freezing. So, and also if you go to the more cooler areas in Malaysia, for example, it's good to have some warm clothes with you. Okay, someone was asking about living alone, like preferring to live alone. So Blue Constellation is not possible because all these houses are basically multiple rooms. But at a Dream City, there are also one-bedroom apartments, so there you don't have to share anything with anyone. So that's an option. And also Sito, the accommodation agent, she has plenty of apartments there that can be rented. Also, it could be that the UPM, the international office, staff might know of some other options if you prefer, for example, living closer to the campus. Of course, there's also the on-campus accommodation option, but they might also know some places closer to the campus. But yeah, Blue Constellation is definitely an option then. Okay. Are the accommodation prices the same by Sito compared to, for example, iProperty.com? That I cannot unfortunately answer, but I would say at least it is not more expensive. So what I think of the prices, like if you pay 250 to 350 euros per room per month, that is very affordable for what kind of accommodation you get and what kind of common areas you have there. And also her services are really good. So she's really helping out the students, providing all the information, and you can always text her if you have any questions. But yeah, it's hard to say because I don't know iProperty.com. But I know from previous experience that most students have preferred using the services of an agent instead of booking through a website. When are we going to have the official letters for the engineering faculty? So yeah, I mentioned this at the beginning of the webinar. So we have communicated with UPM today and asked them to contact the engineering faculty and ask them that they would request the offer letters to be submitted latest beginning of next week. So that's what we are hoping for. Do we have to show the evidence for finances by the single entry visa application or when we arrive in Malaysia? I didn't understand it. I think the previous question was evidences. Right, I go back to in the student evidence of your finances in the checklist. It's the student handbook. So that means after your arrival in Malaysia, this is how I understand that. For the single entry visa application, you can check all the requirements from the Malaysian embassy in your country's website. Are all off letters from the Faculty of Engineering ready? I got mine today, but my boyfriend didn't get one. We only received 5 of them today. And UPM has requested, or the international office has requested the faculty to submit also the others by the beginning of next week. So no, we are still missing approximately 10 something, 10 offer letters from the Faculty of Engineering. Yeah, if there's a question, for example, the evidence of finances is something that I haven't even heard of before. So it's also, if you have any questions related to registration steps or something like this, again, please contact the international office at UPM directly at mobility@upm.edu.my. So they will be able to answer all the questions related to that, all the documents required. Do you have any recommendations for credit cards? There are some pretty good German ones that usually you can use without having to pay any fees for the withdrawal. DKB, I think, has been the one that at least most of the students who come to Indonesia use. But in general, any kind of credit card that doesn't charge you any withdrawal fees in Asia works. I think maybe Alex would have something to say about this. I'm from Finland, so unfortunately I don't have really access to those kind of cards that don't have to pay any withdrawal fees for. Yeah, okay. Alex said N22. Also, yeah, I've heard of that. And other students use DKB. So yes, those are the recommended ones. And by the way, I want to remind you also to save all important documents on a USB stick or on your phone, such as passport, a copy of your visa, offer letter, whichever documents you need to submit at the registration, for example, or what you might be asked of at any point during your semester on campus or anywhere outside of campus. Yeah, Alex is saying that having two different credit cards is a good option. It's always also because you might lose your card as well, or an ATM might just suck it in, or you might get scammed or skimmed the card. So then it's good to have an alternative credit card always with you as well. So always take two. And yeah, someone is asking here about like, I thought I have to wait for the official acceptance letter before starting the eval application. But yeah, the official acceptance letter is the offer letter. So you cannot start the eval application process before receiving it. But as soon as you've received the offer letter, then you should start the eval application process. Okay. We still have a few more minutes to go, but I just want to show you another slide before we finish. You can still keep on writing any questions. To get into the mood for your semester, I recommend not just reading the blogs on our website, but also visiting YouTube. You can find some really cool videos from our Asian destinations there about student life. And also, I definitely recommend you to follow our Instagram. There you can see beautiful photos from our destinations. Also, many of the photos are taken by our previous students. So you get a good idea how it is during the semester. And you can see many of the students are traveling a lot. So you are in a really privileged position when studying in Malaysia, as your student pass will be multiple entry and you can easily go in and out of the country during your semester. And also the flights are really cheap from Malaysia to basically anywhere else in Asia. Whereas many other students in many other destinations, they only get a single entry visa, so they're stuck in their study destination for the whole duration of the semester. How is the quality of the water out of the water tap? Would you recommend drinking water only out of bottles? I would definitely recommend only drinking water out of bottles. I brush my teeth always there with the tap water. but I would never ever drink it. So yeah, of course it's like plastic wise not good. It's not good for the environment, but please bring an ecological bottle with you. And then you don't need to buy the small plastic bottles all the time. But yeah, only drink the bottled water. Okay, I'm sorry I missed the answer to the question. Can both these accommodations be reserved before or on arrival? You can reserve already before, or you can reserve after arrival. So some of the students have already reserved houses at Blue Constellation, at least. And they've been looking for roommates. And most of the students actually prefer searching for the accommodation after their arrival. So yes, it's still possible. I know that there are less houses, there are not that many houses available at Blue Constellation. So it's at least good to contact the agent in advance to ask for the situation. Yeah, in case you have any questions after this webinar, you can of course send an email to info@asiaexchange.org. But if you prefer asking something from Alex, who has been there in Malaysia for the past 5 months, you can post any questions in the Facebook group, in the student Facebook group. I'm not sure if Alex is yet there, but I will add him if he's not. And that way also all of your fellow students can see his answer. So that is how you can ask your questions that you didn't come up with during the webinar, but then you thought of it right after. So feel free to post there and Alex will answer whenever he can. He's trying to enjoy his after semester holidays now. Okay, let's have this one last question still. If Alex can answer this. Are there any official holidays? You do have a holiday there in the middle of the semester. We don't have the exact timing yet for the semester, but always previously there have been holidays during the semester as well, so students have been able to do longer trips to other countries. If you're coming to Indonesia, definitely recommend Lombok. It's next to Bali, but it's still more paradise-like than Bali. Yes, sometimes there can also be longer public holidays. So even during those, you can have like a really long weekend and you can do a trip because it's fast. It's only like 2.5, 3 hours to some of the Southeast Asian destinations. So even if you only have like a 4-day long weekend, you can still go and fly out to another country. Okay, I think we will start finishing this webinar, and I hope you're all getting excited about your upcoming semester in Malaysia, and hopefully everything goes well before then. Hopefully all of you will get your evals and single entry visas on time. There shouldn't be an issue, as it seems many of you students have been able to get your eval in 3 weeks, even if you had some issues. So please do not worry too much. And then I hope to see all of you in September in Malaysia at the orientation day, and I'll try to also organize some kind of evening get together for us. So I will be in touch with you by email before the semester starts again. Thank you so much for joining, and enjoy your day, enjoy the rest of the summer, and we'll see you soon. Okay? Bye-bye.